Yeah, Trinidad, I guess just first off, we've been writing more about you as the plaintiff than the quarterback lately. What has this offseason been like?
Yeah, it's been kind of crazy, a little hectic, but I'm here now, so that's all that matters.
What was the feeling like when, and I know it's been like a gradual drip of court wins, but what was or has it even settled in yet that you're probably going to be able to return?
Yeah, it's definitely settled in. Very excited to see the news that came out Friday. Now I can just focus all my attention to spring ball and making sure that our team's ready, for the season.
What do you think about so far your new look wide receivers? What are the early impressions of them, and even guys like Caleb Cunningham, who's coming on and stepping into a new role?
I feel like we didn't, I guess, drop off too much. We got some dudes from Syracuse, Jonte Cook, Darryl Gill, that can play. Horatio Fields, he's a bigger receiver. And then getting Caleb going. Definitely looking forward, connecting with those guys and creating that chemistry.
What's it been like working with John David Baker, and what sort of differences or similarities are there in the offense? Has it been pretty seamless?
Yeah, it's a lot of similarities. He was here, actually, I think in 2020 through 2022 with, Kiff. So he knows the offense. It's basically the same offense. He has some newer plays, some new terminology that we have to learn, but overall it's the same thing.
You didn't get spring here last year. How big is it for you to have this chance of spring practice heading into this season?
Yeah, I was just talking to someone outside about that. I wasn't here last spring, so I didn't get a chance to, do spring ball and kind of get my feet wet a little bit. I was kind of thrown in the fire in summer ball, and then the season was right there. But it's good to have an, off season, a full spring to, get, timing ready with my receivers, take control of the offense this spring and, create those, connections with the receivers and new guys that we have. So definitely excited that, I'll have a spring ball under my belt.
Obviously, you're still the starter at the end of the year, but has anything changed for you leadership-wise, starting fresh this spring and all the new players now in?
Yeah, my role increased for sure. Just trying to establish myself, to be vocal. I'm not more of a vocal guy for real, but, I got to get outside of my comfort zone a little bit, be vocal, lead by example, and, just be the best person and player that I can be for this team.
I feel like we've asked you this before, but how different is your life than it was a year ago?
It's very different. Just talking to my friends, I talk to them every day. We just always talk about, life in general, and it always gets kind of brought up, like where I'm at and, how, my journey has been, being at Ferris State for, so long, not really knowing if football is really for me. And now I have the opportunity to, go to the NFL, leave my mark in college football too.
It looks like your throwing motion has changed just a little bit compared to last season. What kind of work did you put in?
Yeah, I wouldn't say it changed. If it looks like it changed to you guys, and that's cool, hopefully for the better. But, I always work with my quarterback coach out in California, Steve Calhoun, so I was out there over spring break. And then whenever I also have, time off, when we have in May coming up, I'll be going out there as well, just getting extra work in, trying to get better.
What's your relationship with Joe Judge been and grown like? Obviously, he was there for you in February in that courtroom, but what's this bond between y'all been like?
Yeah, Coach Judge, one of my favorite coaches, that I've ever had, playing any sport. He's so, he just loves the game. He's so detailed and technical with teaching the game and really understanding, what a player sees and how to describe it to him. And he's taught me a lot about football, and I've learned so much, learning from him. We always meet, in the afternoons, just, trying to pick his brain, about the NFL, how it's, how it moves and, what defenses I should be looking at, how I should, I guess, be like Tom Brady because he was with Tom Brady with the Patriots, just all that, and he's just, I guess you could say he has a master's in football because he really does.
I guess, would you mind filling me in a little bit on the work you've been putting in kind of away from Ole Miss or with your quarterbacks coach? And is that something that you've done even at Ferris or whatever, or is that something that, your new stardom allows?
No, yeah, I've been with him. I started working with him before I got significant playing time at Ferris State. And he saw the potential I had. He knew that I was a Division I quarterback, and I'm very grateful for him, for working with me. He's also Jordan Love's quarterback coach, so, he's pretty elite when it comes to that level. But yeah, I've been working with him, I would say, over close to 2 years now. Yeah.
What are your early impressions of your new starting tackles? I mean, obviously those aren't settled or anything, but what have you seen from Tommy Kinsler and Carius and Enoch Wangle, all those guys that have come in to try to replace Diego and Jaden?
Yeah, the first thing that comes to mind is they're really big individuals. Like, those dudes are huge. And us just trying to get them on the same page with how our offense is, the tempo, that's something that the offensive linemen got to get used to if they're coming from other schools, because, Ole Miss offenses, we like to be fast-paced. But they've done a great job. Coach Garrison has been getting them right, and I think we're going to be really good up front.
How is this team's identity different under Golding than the previous coach?
I would say, just, the personalities are a little different than, our old coach and, Coach Golding. I'd say he's more of like a team guy. And, we really value, his leadership, whatever he says. He's kind of show you fast as I could tell, or he's show you fast as I could tell you. He leads by his actions, and, we really appreciate that.
We talked a little bit about him with Golding, but what do you make of Ferrelli? It seems like you guys have some kind of relationship early. Just, I don't know, talk to me about that.
Yeah, Luke's a dog. He's going to be really good for our defense. Him and KT right next to each other. Overall, our defense is going to be insane. But, having a linebacker like Luke who's, played good ball, earlier on, I think he was ACC Freshman of the Year, which is, a great accomplishment. And I'm very excited and, truly just excited to see how, good he'll be this year in the SEC, and he'll make some noise for sure.
Is there anything specific that you kind of had as a goal to improve on this offseason, or maybe Coach Judge had some ideas?
Yeah, definitely. Just staying on top of ball accuracy. I feel like there were some balls, this year that, I wanted back, that I could put the ball in better placement for our receivers, increasing my IQ, and then also just identifying defensive coverage quicker and, just being more elite.
It sounded like Pete was pretty confident that you were going to be the starting quarterback here this coming year, but obviously things were kind of up in the air there for a bit. How confident were you? And I guess how did you sort of balance the not knowing what you were going to be doing?
Yeah, I always had confidence in, me being back here, me being the quarterback at Ole Miss. My case was valid. It was the truth, all that. So my confidence never went down or up. I mean, it was always pretty high.